Hi everyone, welcome back to a new session. In this session, we are going to learn how to REST services communicate with each other. So we are going to call a service or the controller endpoint from another service. So I'm starting from where I left in my previous session. Here I am in the student service, and if I call the get all students, we will see, okay, I think my service is not running. Okay. I'm going to open a request, get all students, and I'm going to call my endpoint, and we will see that it is able to display all the student information, but the course information is missing. Why? Because student does not have the course or enrollment information. And that's what we are going to see and learn, how we can get this information from another REST service. So if I show you my database, I have an enrollment database which just tells me the enrollment, which has two columns, student ID and the course ID. So let's say the student 101 is taking 4 courses, course 101, 102, 103, and 104. Similarly, for all the students, we have the enrollment information. Looking at the course DB, we see that there is a course ID, and then there are course information for that course. And we have a student DB, which has student roll number, name, enrollment year, and the email of that student. Coming back to the source code, if you see here, I am calling my student repository and calls and says get me all students. So this gets me the data for the students which is stored in the student DB, and which is all these rows, but it does not have a course or enrollment information. So what I'm doing here is I created a DTO array. Then for all the students, I'm converting the model to the DTO and adding that DTO to the list and returning the DTO to the caller. That's how it is working. So now what we are going to do is we are going to call the enrollment and the course REST services and get what the information which is missing. So I am going to run my enrollment service and my course service. Okay. Now the first thing we are going to do is create a couple of REST clients. So what I do is I will say REST client, and I will call it enrollment REST client. And then I'm going to create another REST client and call it course client. Okay. Save it. Now, what we need to do is we need to inject a REST client builder in our student service. So let's do this here. REST client dot builder REST client builder. This is injected in our service now. Now the next thing I'm going to do is build my REST client. So the first thing I'm going to build is I'm going to build my enrollment REST client. So if I go in my enrollment service, this is running on port 9002 and the course service is running on port 9001. Okay. So let's see our REST client builder dot base URL is http localhost and enrollment is 9002 and enrollments, and I will say dot build. So let's go back to the enrollment controller. So my base URL is 9002 and then enrollments, and that's how I build my enrollment client. Similarly, for the course client, I'm going to build it base URL. Now its base URL is http localhost 9001, and let's see what is the base URL in the course controller. It is courses. So I'm going to say courses and then dot. So now my both REST clients are ready to call my course and enrollment service. Now what I need to do is to get all the students. First, I am going to get all the enrollments for each and every student. So in this loop, you see, I am getting one student at a time. So what I'm going to do is call get enrollment for this student from enrollment service, right? Okay. So we need a function, let's say get enrollments by roll number, and I'm going to send student dot roll number. So I need this function, get enrollment by roll number. Let's write it. Let's say at the end here, and this function is going to take a roll number as a parameter. Okay, and this is going to return a list of enrollments. So list of enrollments DTO, because you know a controller returns a DTO. So when we are going to call the enrollment service, it is going to give me a list of enrollment DTOs. Okay, now I am not going to write a try catch here to make it more simpler. So what I'm going to do is I am going to call my enrollment REST client and say get, and I will say the URI is, my base URI is already with the REST client, and I need to call get enrollment by roll number. So I'm going to go in my enrollment controller And let's see, I have get enrollment by roll number, and the URI is this. So enrollment, roll number, and the value of roll number. Let me just copy it here and write it here. Okay. And then the roll number is coming from the roll number parameter. So this is the call we created. After that, I am going to retrieve the value, and I'm going to retrieve the body. And I am going to write this here, and I'm going to tell it what is the type. The request is returning. Okay. And that's it. And we are going to return this. Fine. Now, one thing which I would like to let you know is, because when we have multiple services and the data structure, some of the data structures are shared between two services. So for example, student service does not know about the enrollment model or enrollment DTO, right? So student service knows about its DTO. It does not know about enrollment DTO. Now, one way is you can directly use the DTO from the enrollment service, but that is not the right design or the architecture which is followed, because every service has to be independent. So you will have a copy of that model or DTO in your student service. So this means there is going to be enrollment DTO inside enrollment service, and then the same DTO has to be copied here so that student service knows what is enrollment DTO. Otherwise, it won't know. So there are multiple ways to share a data structure. And what I'm following in this class is that the data structure has to be copied in all those services which share that kind of data structure. So I have an enrollment DTO here, and I have a enrollment model in my student service as well. Okay. So let's move forward. I think we are good with this. Cannot find symbol. Should be okay. Let's see if we have that. Okay, we don't have it. So we are going to Spring Framework dot core dot parameterized type. Okay. So now our function or method which can give us all the enrollments for a certain roll number is ready. And we will go up to get all students, and let's do that. It is returning all the DTOs. So I'm going to save it. Now for every enrollment, the enrollment what we are getting, if you see in my database, the enrollment is for every student, I am getting a course ID. So let's say for first student, I am getting 4 course IDs. And what I need is, for those course IDs, I need the course name. And the course name is going to come from the course service. So what I need a for loop here. Before that, I will put some kind of validation. If enrollments is equal to null, or enrollments is empty, I am going to continue to the next student. So possible that there is certain student who is not taking any courses, although in real life it does not happen, but our course should validate every request and every return so that our code is more robust. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to make a for loop for each enrollment. Enrollment DTO, enrollments, and now for every enrollment, what I need is, I need a function which returns me the course name from course ID. So I need a get course name from course name by ID, and the course name is going to come from enrollment dot get course ID, right? And this function should return a course name. So it's course name, right? And I need a list of courses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a list of courses which I'm going to add to this. Okay, so I get for all the enrollments. So let's say there are 4 course IDs I got. I will call for every course ID and get the course name and add that course name to my course list. So I will name it courses dot add course name, and then these courses will be added to the student DTO, and when we request, we are going to see course list as well in our get all courses request. So I need another function named get courses, get course by ID, course name by ID. So let's write it here, and this is taking a course ID, which is a string parameter, and this is going to return a string. Okay, fine. So let's try to write. Now this time we are going to use our course REST client, and we are going to create a request the same way we did in our enrollment one. So let's see what is the URL for the course controller. So we need a function which can give us course name by ID, and the URL is this. So URL, and the value is going to come from course ID, right? Then I will say retrieve, and the body type is string. Okay, and that's it, and we are going to return it. So this function is going to give us a course name by course ID. Okay, let's go on. Okay, looks nice. We added course name to our course list, And once we are out of this loop, we will add all these courses to the student DTO we are creating here. So this is our student DTO. This is the student DTO. And so I'm going to do it here, or I can do it here as well. Student dot set courses. Now my student model is complete. Next line, what it is doing is it is converting the student or the model class to the DTO class and then adding the DTO to my DTO list. And so now my student DTO is complete, fully complete, which has the course information. Let's see. Okay, now let's run and see if this works. So I'm going to run my course service. I'm going to run my enrollment service. I think something is already running. Which one did not run? 9002 is enrollment. So I'm going to, enrollment is running. I think all my services are running. Let's try. So before, when we sent a request, my courses were null. The course information was not coming out. Let's try. Okay. Oh, it's still coming null. Okay, let's see. I'm going to run all my services again. Okay, all three services are running. Let's see. Send a request to get all students, and we get all the courses for all the students. So now you see how we are communicating between REST services. We sent a couple of calls to the other running microservices to get more information and collected all the information and sent it to the caller. Okay. Let's see if I can give you another example. So let's say we want to add a student. So I have add student here, probably. Yeah, here. So in the add student, what I'm going to do, I'm already doing is I'm getting a DTO, student DTO. I'm converting it to my model student, then creating a roll number, adding it, and adding the student to the DB. But this is not adding a enrollment information for that student. So what I need is I need to add the enrollment information as well. For example, let's see, I will show you my add student call. So let's say I want to add myself. I'm not adding a roll number because roll number is generated by the system. I want to add myself in year this is my email ID, and I want to take these courses. Okay, let's see if I post this request. My student service is running on port 9003. Let's see what happens. Okay, not found. Why? I think I need to add a / at the end of the request. Now not found. Okay, let's see in our controller. Get mapping, post mapping. Okay, so add student is ending with the student. Let's change it. and my base endpoint is student. So I will change it. Okay, now it looks good. I will save it actually for later. Okay, and then send a request. So it says it added the student to the student DB. Let's see what we got. So use student and select start. You see, so student table was updated correctly with the new addition, but did we add the enrollment for this student? So we did not. Why? Let's see again. So when we added Naveen, the roll number was S119. But if we go in the enrollment, there is no S119. Why? Because we did not send the enrollment information to the enrollment service. And that's what we want to do. Okay. So I'm going to delete this guy here. Okay. And let's see. So Naveen is gone. Let's go back to the code and fix it. So let's go down to add student. And this is my student controller. I need to go to the student service, add student. So now here I need to generate the enrollment for the enrollment service. Okay, and send a call. So what I need is I need a function which actually can send enrollments for this student. Okay, now how I'm going to do is I'm first going to create a list of enrollment details to be sent. So I will say enrollment DTO enrollments array list. Okay, and this is going to be filled and sent. So for string course name student dot get courses. So I am already getting the course information in the request. What I need to do is generate a course ID for that, and then course ID and course name has to be sent to the enrollment. Okay. I'm sorry. I need to generate course ID for these courses and create a data structure which has student roll number and course ID. So I'm going to generate 4 rows which will have student roll number and course ID, and that needs to be sent to the enrollment service. Okay, so I am getting a list of courses. Now what I need to do is I need the first thing is a function which can give me a course ID by course name. Okay, so what I need is course ID is equal to get course ID by name, and here it should. So I need this function. So this is going to call, is going to return a string and takes a course name. Okay, right. So let's call course rest line dot get, and I need the URI in the course. So let's go to the course controller, and I need the course ID by course name. Get course ID. Get course ID by course name. Where is it? Yeah, course ID by name. So this is the endpoint in my course controller, and I am going to do this, and the parameter is course name, and then I will say retrieve, and I will say body is type string, and I'm going to return this. So now my function for this is ready. I am getting a course name. Now if the course ID is null, as I said, our program has to be robust. So if, because why? Because we need to check if, let's say, somebody writes a course which does not exist, so then the course ID will be null, and we need to make sure that a user is sending a right request. So if they are sending us some garbage courses, we are not going to enroll the student, and we are going to actually return. So if course ID is equal to null, we are going to give a error, bad course ID. Right? Perfect. And we will return null. So add student is going to do nothing if a user sends a bad course name. Okay, but otherwise, what we are going to do is, I'm going to create an enrollment DTO, and add enrollment dot set student roll number is roll number here, which we created, and enrollment dot set course ID, and then we are going to add this enrollment to my enrollments list. Okay, that's it. Perfect. And in the end, what I need is, I am sending the student information in the DB, which we saw a few moments later. The only thing which is missing is adding the enrollments. So I need a function which add enrollments, or which sends a request and call the enrollment endpoint to add the enrollments. I already created enrollments. So now what I need is, I need a function which can add enrollments. So let's go down. This is going to return nothing because this is a post request, and it takes an list of enrollment details. Okay, so here I'm going to call enrollment list client, and I say not get but post, and the URI is, let's see, in the enrollment service, enrollment controller, where is my post, is this enrollment, and it, if you send it enrollments, it actually adds those enrollments into the database. So this is the URI, right? Okay, and then I will say content type is JSON, media type application JSON, and in the body I am sending enrollments, and I will say retrieve, and I will say I am retrieving nothing, and I'm going to return this, or actually not required because we are not returning anything. And I think that's it. In real scenario, you will put a try catch here like this, so that if there is an error, you are able to catch. I'm just going to put a try here so that you know. And here, although I am using a generic exception, you should have specific exceptions for specific cases. And I will say system.out.ln and enrollments, and I will say e.get message. That's it. Okay. So now my add enrollments is done. Now let's review what we did. I want to add a student. I get the student information. I convert it into a model, but this model is missing a roll number as well as, yeah, that's it, a roll number. So I created a roll number, I added it. Now what I need to do is I have the student information and I have the enrollment information. What is missing is in the enrollment, I have the subject names, but I don't have the course ID for them. So what I did is I wrote a function which can give me a course ID by course name. So for a particular student which we want to add to the DB, for all the courses, I get a course ID. And then I create an enrollment DTO, add a student name and the course ID to it, and then that enrollment is added to enrollments. So for, let's say, a student is doing 4 courses here, like here. So I will have enrollments which will have student ID. So in this case, or student roll number, in this case, let's say it's S119. So S119 and the course ID for this, then S119 course ID for this, S119 course ID for this, and so on. So we will have 4 rows, and then I am sending this to the enrollment service to add the enrollments. So I wrote a function, and then I am sending my rest of the student information to the student repository. So what is going to happen is student information will go into the student DB and enrollment information is going to the enrollment DB, but through a communication between REST services. We are not directly accessing the enrollment DB. And I think this looks good. I did changes in only the student service. So I'm going to stop my student service and run the student service again. And let's see how everything goes. Okay, looks to be running. I will go again here and will add a student. Okay, response is 200. I think it added, and see, it returned the roll number of the new student. Let's go into the DB, do a select star, and Naveen is added, which actually was working before as well. The only thing which was not working is enrollments. So let's see here. And you see S119 is doing 4 courses, and that's it. Let's test our code a bit. So I add a my course here, and I add a random name and random student. So because my course does not exist in the DB, let's see what happens, because we already have a case in our code which checks for the courses and validates them. So, okay, response said okay, because I'm not returning an error. That's why we are not seeing it. But in your case, you should return an exception, and probably a type of exception which says a wrong course. But in the log I'm printing, so you will see bad course name, my course. Okay. And if we go in the DB, random should not be there. See? So that's how you handle situations where something wrong should not happen or should not go to the DB. You can, I am going to post the GitHub repository where all this code is present, and you can follow this code. There are other methods also which I'm going to write for you, and you can follow all those methods where you can see different calls. For example, let's say I want to delete an enrollment from the DB. Okay, so you can delete an enrollment. Now, how you can do that? Let's say you want to delete a student. So then student should go, but then his enrollment should also be deleted from the enrollment service. So in that case, what you are going to do is delete the student from the student DB, but then student DB is going to call the enrollment service and ask it to delete enrollments for a particular student by roll number. Okay. So all these things I'm not going to cover and increase the time for this video, but you can follow all that code, and probably I hope you will learn new concepts and techniques and how to interact with the DB and do CRUD operations, and how to communicate between two REST services. So that is all for today. I hope this session might be helpful for you in building your knowledge of REST services using Spring and Java. So I'm going to see you in my next session. Until then, I will say bye and happy coding.